Welcome to our special business segment. Let's talk business. The market spared some gains to close higher and rising over 1% intraday, but on a weekly basis, it was the second consecutive week of ending in red. Now, pharma, metal and media sectors led advances as Nifty closed above 19,600 level and Sensex ended up upwards of 65,800 mark. Now, Alex Matthew with a wrap on all the market action.
Equity markets had a volatile end to the trading week, but the Nifty 50 ended with gains of about 0.6%. There was a range of about 175 points from the low point to the high point of the day, and you saw quite a bit of a cool off towards the end of the session, around 100 points from the high point of the day in just the last 1 hour of trade. Now, the broader markets outperformed, the mid-cap index gaining about 1% and the small-cap index gaining close to 0.7%, and the Nifty Pharma index was by far and away the best performer, gaining about 2.7% as a whole, Glenmark outperforming there, and the metal index was the other outperformer, gaining close to 2%. The key underperformer sectorally was the IT index. It lost ground because overnight you had Accenture, which missed estimates on the earnings front and also guided to a lower growth in the financial year ending August. For the week as a whole, you had the Nifty 50 that ended with cuts of just about 0.2%. The Nifty Bank also pretty much flat. The key outperformers were, in fact, the auto index as well as the IT index. The auto index gaining close to 4%, IT close to 3%, and then pharma, because of that run towards the end of the week, it gained about 2% or so for the week as a whole. The top gainers on Friday, I'll read off the list. You have Hindalco from the metal pack gaining over 5%, NTPC, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Hero MotoCorp as well as Tata Motors. And among the losers, there were few and far between on the Nifty 50, but they were Adani Enterprises as well as LTR Mindtree, Infosys, HCL Tech and Nestle India. So the key underperformers, like I said, were the IT index. Now, a few points to watch out for going forward. Later today, there'll be some key inflation data that will be released in the US. And back home next week, we're heading towards the Monetary Policy Committee's meeting on monetary policy. We'll have to see what the course of policy is going forward. And finally, just keep an eye on oil prices. They have cooled off towards the end of the week, but they still remain elevated, and that could have a sentimental impact. That's it for this week, though. And remember, next week is going to be a curtailed session. So let's see how things pan out.
Now, how will the current global trends affect the Indian economy? Will the rising crude prices affect the Indian economy? BQ Prime spoke to DBS Group's Taimur Beg on how the crude prices will affect India and how RBI is placed in the fight against inflation. Listening.
Given the supply-demand makeup around the world in terms of refining capacity, in terms of storage, looks like we're at a bullish part of the cycle as far as oil is concerned. But I would make two important points. One is we shouldn't worry that much. And second is the cycle itself may well be short-lived. So why we shouldn't worry about it? Well, we have lived with $100, $110, $140 oil in the past, and not in recent past, going all the way back to 2008. So the world in the last 15 years has seen $40 oil, $100 oil, $140 oil. That has not been the spoiler, if you will, for the global economic cycle. There are many other things going on. Of course, energy-related inflation is a concern. Of course, that leads to some pressure on the current account and the currency. But that is not going to be the maker or the breaker of the economic cycle in India or globally, in my view. In real terms, oil today is, even at $100, substantially lower than anything we saw during the previous bull runs of oil in the end of 2008, as well 2009, and as well as in recent years. So first and foremost, I think it's important to understand that we have seen this before. We've taken this in our strides. We have the absorptive capacity to deal with $100 oil. It's okay. The RBI is in a good position where they can convey some degree of inflation fighting credential and perhaps signal that it will have to take a closer look at what's happening with overall price dynamic before entertaining easing measures at some point next year. So I think that, unfortunately, is a given the domestic drivers. Now, the external drivers, whether it is oil or the Fed is a very big source of headache. I think the Fed tightening over the last year or so, we haven't felt it entirely yet. It's about to come. in terms of real interest rates being high, in terms of dollar liquidity becoming tighter progressively, in terms of emerging market currencies, including the rupee feeling pressure of the mighty dollar sort of, pulling itself up because of the high interest rate differential between the US and the rest of the world.
The Mercedes-Benz EQ E500 is quite luxury at its finest. It's electric after all. While staying true to the tenets of German engineering, BQ Prime's Tushardeep Singh reviews the stealth wealth on wheels.
The EQ E500 won't get you noticed on the highway, in the traffic, or even in the parking lot. And that's a good thing. Welcome to stealth wealth done the Mercedes way. The EQ E500 is quintessentially a Mercedes-Benz in the way it's solidly built and delivers effortless power with a smooth yet firm ride. It's essentially an E-Class on stilts, an electric GLE or a GLE coupe if you may. It can drive a CEO in Mumbai or an entrepreneur in Bangalore to work in utmost comfort. They won't mind taking the wheel over the weekend either. The ride is that involving. Right now, the design language of electric vehicles ranges from the eccentric, the Hyundais and Kias, to the unexciting, the Teslas. The EQE looks as exciting like a bar of soap, depending on who you're talking to. Some find it futuristic, others, well, as sexy as a bar of soap. Personally, the design is hard to fault. It's not shouty, it's not over the top. It's the kind the royal clan of Succession would like to be driven around in. Save for a large three-pointed star on the grille and a smiling illuminated fascia, the front is largely clean. The rear, with a wraparound LED strip, spell out the model's bare essentials. The colors, ranging from metallic blues to pastel grays, simply underscore the understated charm. The inside is anything but understated. A 56-inch edge-to-edge hyperscreen adorns the dash. The steering wheel is wrapped in leather with enough tactile switches to navigate the hyperscreen without taking your eyes off the road. And if you do take your eyes off the road or hands on the steering wheel, the ADAS nanny kicks in immediately with a warning. If ignored, the nanny will slow you down until you heed the warning. This entire feature can be disabled though using the hyperscreen. The infotainment system is top of the class in terms of clarity and speed, and once you're over the learning curve, as is the case with any new car today, it's easy to flip through the menus and find what you need. Passengers will appreciate the roomy rear. The sloping roofline does not come in the way unless they're well over 6 feet tall. The panoramic sunroof adds to the roominess. In the tight switchbacks around Gulmarg where we test drove this car, the EQE rode smoothly and calmly, delivering a bit of body roll and a dash of understeer on sharper turns. Stomp on the gas and this car lunges at the not-so-perfect tarmac with 580 Nm of torque on tap. Mercedes claims a 0 to 100 of 4.9 seconds. I'm not going to debate that, given the supercar rivaling acceleration. Still, the overall sense of calmness isn't compromised. The car at no given time feels out of control. And that's saying something for a 400 bhp near 3-ton car. The EQE has 4 driving modes. The Eco mode lets you sip on the battery. The Comfort mode keeps things engaging without losing any of the plushness. The Sport mode is for spirited driving, darting around town at what feels like warp speed. The Off-road mode is for the adventurous. It raises suspension to handle the ruts with elan. Just keep in mind, this is not a Jeep Wrangler. Most owners would plonk the car in Comfort mode and forget about it. That's not a bad thing, honestly, for the suspension and the ground clearance are more than adequate for the daily grind. One of the biggest positives is the driving range. I mean, the suffix 500 in EQ E500 is there for a reason. The SUV packed with 90 kWh of battery is capable of traveling 550 kilometers on a full charge. On our drive, the 50 kilometer loop around Gulmarg, the battery dropped to 91% with enough on tap to go all the way to Ladakh, about 420 kilometers away. A day's worth of spirited driving, we were told, drops the battery 50% at the most. A top-up is a breeze. The car charges to 80% from zero in a mere 32 minutes. Range anxiety? Not here at least. The EQ E500 gives you the impression that it won't be out of place outside a Delhi discotheque or a Bandra brunch joint. It won't be out of place in the snows of Kashmir or the beaches of Kerala. At 1.39 crore rupees, you get an expensive electric SUV that does it all without screaming for attention. That, to me, is stealth wealth at its finest.
That's all we had for you today on Let's Talk Business. Now, short break.